What is up, amigos? Hope you're doing awesome. My name is Maddie and welcome back to my channel. Before Kuberaa hit the screens, there was a certain level of genuine curiosity and cautious excitement. After all, this was a film being made by Sekhar Kammula, a director who has always been known for his quiet, rooted and emotionally rich Telugu storytelling. Except for one odd Rana Daggubatti starrer leader. And now here he was stepping into a massive pan-India political crime drama starring a mix of actors like Dhanush, Nagarjuna, Rashmika Mandanna and Jim Sarbh. The cast looked promising, the scale looked big, and it felt like Sekhar Kammula was attempting something far more ambitious than anything he had done before. But sadly, that same ambition is exactly where the film starts to crack. While it wants to be a massive story about morality, corruption and survival, it struggles with its own identity. As someone who speaks Telugu fluently and has closely followed Kammula's work over the years, it was honestly painful to watch the soul of his cinema get lost in this big, glossy, pan-India rapper. He was one of those few filmmakers who could take the most ordinary characters and situations and turn them into deeply moving stories. But here, that very authenticity is missing. And it's not just a small issue, it affects the entire film. Now let's talk about the story, because that's where the disappointment really begins to show. Dhanush plays Deva, a poor beggar living in the temple town of Tirupati. He's someone who has never had anything in life. Not money, not family, not direction. One day, he gets pulled into a bigger plan involving a secret financial scam connected to illegal oil reserves, black money, and deep-rooted corruption that stretches into the government system. He's mentored and guided by a man named Deepak, played by Nagarjuna, who is supposedly an ex-CBI officer. Alongside them is Jim Sarbh, who plays Neeraj, a cold, calculating businessman who is at the center of this all. Now, as if that wasn't enough, Rashmika's character centers as a woman who's on the run from her own life and past. And by some magical coincidence that makes zero logical sense, all these people, every single one of them, end up in Mumbai, working on the same scam. And of course, they all speak Telugu, as if Mumbai's entire underground criminal network decided to do a recruitment drive in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. I mean, come on, the setup is so forced, so unrealistic that it pulls you out of the story right from the start. On the surface, the story might sound gripping, a rags to riches narrative with scams, greed, betrayal and morality, but the way it's told is way too plain. There's no real mystery, no strong build-up and no unexpected turns. You can predict what's going to happen very early on, and that's a problem when your film is almost 3 hours long. The excitement dies before it even begins. Now coming to performances, let's begin with Dhanush. He is an actor who has given some truly unforgettable performances over the years. He's known for disappearing into his roles, and his raw intensity usually hits hard, but here something feels off. His portrayal of Deva begins on a sincere note, but as the film goes on, it starts becoming repetitive. His innocence, which should feel touching, starts feeling exaggerated and fake. It becomes the same expression, the same tone, the same energy in every scene, and after a point, it stops feeling like a person and starts feeling like a performance. Now Rashmika Mandanna's character sadly has nothing much to do. She's just present in the film, that's it. Her story arc is not built properly and her presence doesn't add any emotional weight. She doesn't get a single strong scene, and her bond with Dhanush's character doesn't grow naturally. It feels like someone in the writing room just said, let's insert a female character here. That's it. That's exactly how it feels. Inserted forcefully, nothing organic. Now let's talk about Nagarjuna. He plays an ex-government officer who is supposed to be struggling with his own conscience. But there's a strange mismatch between his calm screen presence and the character's moral confusion. The role demands someone who can show internal conflict, maybe a little fear or frustration, but Nagarjuna remains too composed, too stiff, and when the film tries to redeem his character in the climax, it feels completely unearned and artificial. It's almost like the script is forcing you to forgive him, even though nothing he really does deserves it. Jim Sarbh, thankfully, is the one actor who feels like he belongs in the film. He plays the villain without going overboard. His dialogue delivery is sharp, his presence is strong, and he brings a kind of cold danger that keeps you watching. He doesn't try to be larger than life, and that grounded performance is what makes makes it believable. Let's come to direction and the writing department. Now here's where I feel Sekhar Kammula truly has lost his touch. The man who once gave us quiet, emotional films filled with human depth has now made a film that's loud, shallow, and filled with empty scenes. One of the biggest problems is how Mumbai is shown in the film. You had all these real locations. You have Gateway of India, Haji Ali, Chowpatty, Dalal Street, the BSc building, but none of it feels like it matters. The city is just there in the background, like a postcard. And here's the thing, great city-based storytelling makes the location feel like a character in the film itself. Look at The Family Man. You don't just see Mumbai, you feel its heat, its chaos, its life. Mumbai Meri Jaan. Look at Talash, where the city's sadness and mystery gets into your bones. Even Patal Lok Season 1, the Delhi, and then Patal Lok Season 2 made the Northeast feel like a breathing, living part of the narrative. But in Kuberaa, Mumbai is just random frames behind the actors. It adds nothing. You could have shot this story in any other city and nothing would have changed. The writing is even more disappointing. For a film that wants to explore politics, scams, and systemic corruption, there's zero complexity. Everything is handed to you directly with no layers at all. There's no sense of danger, no deep moral questions, no gray areas. It's just black and white storytelling, the kind we used to see in the 90s. And let's be honest, we've come too far to go back to that kind of writing. If you watched shows like Scam 92 or The Jengaburu Curse, you'll know how a financial thriller or a scam can be made engaging and thought-provoking. These stories had detail, emotion, and complexity. Kuberaa doesn't even try. And it's not like they had a small duration. They had 3 hours to say everything. Let's talk a bit about the music now. This might sound harsh, but one of the worst creative decisions in this film was hiring Devi Sri Prasad. His music style just doesn't fit this kind of a film. There's a song called Poiyara Mama, which is meant to be a message song about morality, death, sung by Dhanush, and it's so outdated that it made me feel like I was watching a parody. It comes out of nowhere and breaks the flow of the story entirely as well. The only musical element that works is the Nadi Nadi background score. It's a nice track and they use it multiple times to create some emotional connect. But beyond that, there's nothing memorable. The soundtrack doesn't fit the story. In fact, it pulls it down. Even in terms of visuals, the film feels empty. Some reviewers have praised the cinematography because it was shot in real locations, but I disagree. Cinematography isn't just about what you shoot, it's about how you shoot it. A camera placed in front of a famous monument doesn't automatically create good visuals. There's no atmosphere, no emotion, no texture. It's all just clean shots that feel like they were designed for a travel ad. At the end of the day, Kuberaa is not an entirely terrible film, but it's definitely a very disappointing one coming from Sekhar Kammula. The kind of film where you can see potential but it never fully shows up. It wants to talk about class, corruption, the greed for power, and the search for goodness, but it ends up doing it in the most shallow and superficial way possible. For a director like Sekhar Kammula, this is a step in the wrong direction. He used to make us feel things with just a look, just a pause, just a conversation, but in Kuberaa, everything is loud, everything is big, but nothing truly lands. And maybe that's the bigger problem with this whole pan-India trend. In trying to make films that appeal to everyone, filmmakers are forgetting the voices that made them special in the first place. If you've loved Sekhar Kammula's earlier work, then you might walk out of Kuberaa feeling confused, maybe even a little sad, because this isn't the director we once knew, and perhaps that's the cost of chasing scale. Sometimes you lose your soul in the process. If you watched it, let me know what you thought about the film. Did it work for you more than it did for me? Or were you also hoping for something better? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy these kind of honest takes on cinema, make sure to subscribe. I've got more reviews, opinions, and deep discussions coming your way soon. Take care, stay awesome, and bye-bye.